Peace and greetings to the East family. This is I Light Network. I'm your host, Brother Matchley Montanez, and we here with our co-host, Brother Righteous. So on today's episode, we're going to talk about why it is that you shouldn't become a Freemason. But before we get into that, we're also going to talk about the whole George Floyd situation, Derek Chauvin, and the verdict. So first, we're gonna get into the George Floyd thing, and the verdict that was just passed. Our insights on it, our thoughts on it, and we would appreciate your thoughts and insights on it. But before we get into that, thanks to everybody who contributes to the channel for sure. Everybody who sent contributions, etc., etc. So let's talk a little bit about that before we get into our main subject, the whole Derek Chauvin thing and the verdict. What are your thoughts on that, brother? Right?
My thoughts is just my thoughts are different from the average man, but I will say this. I think it was good for them to have a guilty verdict. It was kind of almost a no-brainer, but there was a couple things that I was looking at. Like I said, you get your information from the news, but you got to dissect it. And for me, there's a proper etiquette when it comes to dealing with mainstream media. So don't forget that the family got paid off $27 million. So if he would have got off, that would have been a trade-off. Like we gonna let him get off, but y'all just copped this 27 mil. Sometimes the system works like that. But rising power to George Floyd. My takeaway from this is, what do we as a people learn from this particular situation? That's my biggest takeaway. Because if you pay attention, the day of the verdict, something else went down. And then like 2 days later, another brother got murdered in North Carolina where some of my peoples is at. You know what I'm saying? So you got to, like, what did we learn, or what is the takeaway from this particular situation? I say it all the time. I'm going to say it on this channel. You got to figure out who you are. You got to understand that there's no such thing as a black or white individual, first and foremost. We humans. So now on the government level, when they call you black or white, it's a subject of the United States. And I don't want to get into like the whole political aspect. Like maybe we'll do a video on it, but I'll explain it in depth so you'll completely understand what I mean by that. But those are subjects that are owned by the particular government. So how they look at it is, if I kill something that's black, which is an adjective, technically I didn't kill anything because you're a black man. You're not a human, if that makes any sense. And I know it's going to go over some people's heads, but try to use your other mind. Try to get into your subconscious mind and think about what I'm saying. If you're labeled as black, technically speaking, you don't exist to them. That's how they move. So that's a big takeaway. Fortunately, somebody had video evidence, but they always have video evidence. So keep in mind that George Floyd, he's not the only brother that is murdered by the cops, but at the same rate is mad white people who die by police. How do I know? Because I watched the body cam videos, bro. The cops spraying the white brothers and sisters. Like, so this is not to take away from his death, but I'm gonna show you before we jump off of it. I just mentioned that there was a brother in North Carolina who just got clipped by the police. Why we don't hear that on mainstream media? They're talking about the young girl with the knife, the Makia Bryant young lady, and what the cops should have done, but nobody's talking about the other brother. And so my going thing is this: they pick and choose what they want to promote to you because they want to get to your emotions, basically. Now think about this. I was listening to Pandora. They was promoting the trial case. The verdict is going to come out today, like it was a commercial. When When have they ever done that for a murder case? We
1
had
second.
mad brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Greg, for that $10. Thank you, my brother. Go ahead, bro.
So they're promoting the trial like it's a Big Mac. The verdict comes out today. Will you watch? What will happen? So for me, like, it's a little bit more profound for me. My views, like I said, they differ. So I'm not going to say it completely up here because I don't want to offend anybody. But I think something completely different from what most people are thinking. Like, you seeing that you got justice, to me, I don't see that. Like, to me, I see it as, let's get them to shut up. We're going to get you out of here. Let's get them to shut up. How many?
All right, let me ask you this. Don't keep your thought in mind, right? Because this is what I was wondering to myself, right? Okay. Like a lot of people who know me, they know that, all right, you're from New York City, I'm from New York City. All right.
Right.
Now, none of us disagree that the police do have a tendency, to discriminate against minorities. Not all police.
Right.
Not all police, right? Definitely not all police, for sure. I would never place all police in the box because I know better. I'm from Brooklyn, from the gutter. Like,
both of us, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So, no, somebody in the suburbs can't tell me nothing about the inner city and when it comes to, police discrimination, etc. So, a lot of people know that. In line with what you're saying, like when I looked at the Floyd situation, like I remember last year, a lot of us lost a lot of friends last year because so many people are controlled by the mainstream media, and everybody started getting feelings. Not everybody, I'm just saying the masses, right? They started falling into the whole racial divide thing, right? They get emotional about things. So I watched this stuff. You had a lot of people who also thought it was a stage act. We know that too. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is a stage act." Chauvin is the guy from the Cab show. He's a paid actor. George Floyd, because George Floyd he used to do porno too. If people started finding out George Floyd does porno. So they're like, oh yeah, George Floyd, because he's a porn actor at a side gig, this was all made up or whatever. Now, the thing becomes this, like you were saying with the brother, where did you say, South Carolina or North Carolina?
No, North Carolina, Elizabeth City to be exact. Yeah.
All right. So now when things started coming out about George Floyd, right? Like, for example, some people are in their feelings because they're sheeple. Like George Floyd, he's definitely a meth addict, that's for sure. He was arrested for putting a gun to a pregnant woman's belly in a robbery or whatever. That's part of his criminal record. What else did this guy? He passed the $20 bill, the fake $20 bill. That's what started it all off. Criminal acts, right? So, even though, like for me, I would say that this guy was not the best poster child to choose, in my opinion. And I'm tying that into what you're saying about the individual from the Carolinas, because there's so many real issues going on. So when I look at that thing, I'm like, damn, they picked this guy. Now let's say like in the neighborhood, you ever seen in the neighborhood when a person is high off PCP? I'm saying like in the ghetto, like a person is high off angel dust and they start going crazy in the neighborhood, and then the brothers on the block gotta beat him up and shit, subdue him, you know what I'm saying, to stop him from doing his crimes. Are you gonna be nice to the guy that's on angel dust? No, it's gonna raise his adrenaline. He's gonna resist, he's gonna get crazy. So when I look at a situation like what happened with George Floyd, I just think he was the wrong poster the wrong poster boy, so to speak, to represent the situation. Why? Because
Right.
not for nothing, bro. He's a menace to society. 100%. Right? 100% George Floyd was a menace to society. So I can't look at George Floyd and be like, not saying that he deserved particularly what happened to him, you know, to that degree, but I can understand the situation. Like, you know what? Nah. Now here's another funny thing, right? Not saying what happened to him was funny, but the day of the verdict, you know, was April 20th, right?
420, right.
And you know that 420 or April 20th is Adolf Hitler's birthday.
Wow.
So white supremacists, white supremacists or Nazi, you know, neo-Nazis, they celebrate 420. It's a day of celebration for them because it's the day that Hitler was born. So I sit back, remember how you were saying in recent episodes, like, you know, individuals that hide things, they'll put things in front of your face subliminally.
Right.
It's hidden in plain sight. It's symbology. So it struck me, I'm saying, like, wow, there's so many minorities celebrating. You're celebrating the day of Hitler's birth. I know they don't know.
Right.
They're going crazy at having a celebration, but to them it's the day of justice. Yeah. And I'm like, damn, I'm used to seeing white supremacists celebrate 420 because it's Hitler's birthday. So I look at that and say, damn, what are the odds that this thing would happen on his date? So you could interpret that one of two ways, right? Because it's not like it happened on the day Hitler died, the celebration.
Right.
It was a celebration on the day he was born. So you could interpret it one of two ways. If it's really a scheme to show you that, nah, there's something else going on indirectly that you really don't know. Or could you interpret it in the reverse? So by the same token, and I'll let you continue, bro, because you were making some excellent points. And in regards to, you know, social injustices, I look at things and I say, to me, my opinion, I think our major epidemic as far as this country is not the police brutality issue. I say that because if we look at statistics, for example, last year, you know, the amount of Caucasians that were killed by police unjustly, I'm saying, like, police killing Caucasians. There were definitely more Caucasians killed by the police last year than non-Caucasians. Now, of course, we also have to look at the census statistics. If you go on uscensus.gov, only 13% of our country is African American. Only 13% of the population is African American. Over 70% is what we would consider Caucasian. And then you have everything else. Like, there are more Latinos than African Americans, right? So there's over 13% of the population that are Latinos, but only 13% is African Americans and over 70% is Caucasian. It's a statistical fact. Go on uscensus.gov. It's going to tell you that. So I see that with what our problem is. I'm saying so-called non-Caucasians, but it's like you said also, there's really no such thing as race. That's a fallacy. We're the human species. We know better, but we're just using these terms because that's what's prevalent in the society. What I tend to see almost damn near every day on the news, bro, on New York City is like the so-called black on black crime it's an epidemic, bro. It's very bad. There's more of us killing each other than the police killing us.
That's a fact.
And I'm keeping it real, bro. When I'm in New York City, I'm not saying in our nice areas, like we live in nice areas, but I'm saying when we go into the ghettos we come from, or we go into the, you know, the major avenues and stuff like that.
They be
Brother,
wildin'.
I'm more, I'm not gonna say nervous, but I'm more on guard of something happening to me from our people, so to speak, than a cop. And I'm keeping it 100 with you. I get pulled over by the police in my car on a regular basis, but I don't try to resist arrest or nothing. I let them do, the ones who discriminate, I let them do what they do. Some of them are mad, like, you know, he drives a BMW, or Brother Righteous is driving a Benz and he's mad because he can't afford it on his salary. You let them talk their crap, yeah, but I'm not resisting arrest. I let them talk their crap, you know, and then I get out of there. I go on my way, because I do know that if you resist arrest by the law throughout the 50 states, right? If you resist arrest in such a way that it puts civilians in danger and possible danger, or the police in possible danger, the police have the absolute right to shoot you. That's the law. I don't know why a lot of civilians, I mean, I know why they don't get that, because they don't study the law. They just think that you're supposed to be able to punch a police officer in the face, or with like the other kid, whatever his name was recently, who they tried to handcuff him in the same
The brother
part of,
in Georgia.
it was in the same
Talking
part of
about
the
that
globe.
one?
The light skinned kid.
Oh,
Was,
the Dante dude, the Dante kid.
yeah, there you go, Dante Wright. And I watched the
Yeah.
tape, and I'm like, brother, I'm not surprised the police shot him. They tried to handcuff him. He tried to get away because he had a gun warrant. He jumped in the car, tried to sped. What do you think was going? You try to drive off. At that point, the police are going to use their excuse to shoot you because they can. You just attempted a high-speed chase, basically, to them. You could run over a civilian in the street, so they're going to shoot you. What do you, like, only a person who was raised in the suburbs would think otherwise.
Right.
Like, you know, we know this, brother, growing up. Like, what?
Well, to a certain degree, because I've had my experiences, and I was just talking about it with my homies from college. We was talking about the case or whatever, and they saying they was, you know, we finally got one, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I don't know how to respond to it, because I'm like, we ain't get nothing, like, you know what I'm saying? So from the moment of the event all the way up until now to the verdict, I paid attention to a lot. And
oh yeah, going back to the Chauvin thing.
Yeah,
listen, finish your point, but let me just say this last point. So, and we'll probably swerve back to it, but from what I'm seeing, bro, we got to really work on this black on black crime thing, bro, because it's happening every day. Now with the police, us killing each other, bro. Us killing each other. You could look at the news and you see a black brother, a Puerto Rican brother, Dominican brother beating up a black woman in the street. It's crazy, bro, especially in New York City now. Like, but I don't see none of these protesting groups. And I don't want to say the names because I ain't trying to get cancel culture.
Exactly.
I don't see none of them. The young sister, not the one with the knife. I could understand that too. Like, come on. If somebody pulled the knife out, whether they were a kid, whether they were adult, what is like, you think somebody's not gonna shoot the person to whatever, you know, because they're pulling out a knife. I'm saying that the actual incidents, not those ones that they choose to publicize, which is weird, like you were saying a little bit earlier, brother. Why would you try to glorify a person who's doing a criminal act? It's not normal for a little kid to pick up to start swinging a knife, bro. That's not normal. It's not normal in black households, bro, and it's not normal in so-called white households. That's not normal. That's criminal, bro. So I'm saying for the innocence, like, you know, it was a 7-year-old young black girl who got killed recently. They were trying to kill her father, some gang members. It was black on black crime. He survived, the daughter was killed. Then there was another incident recently where a black brother, he killed his niece on accident, allegedly. supposedly shooting a music video with guns in it and shot his own niece in the head. You know what I'm saying? And she's black, he's black. So these type of things, why there no protesting? Why is there no protesting from these groups going on for black on black crime? So it
Exactly.
almost makes it like, are we okay with this shit? Like, pardon my French, is it okay? Is it okay for us to kill ourselves and then it's cool? Because this is where the major murders are taking place, or manslaughters and all of that is us killing us. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Go ahead, bro.
Excuse me. That's a good point, because I speak about it all the time. My mother's son, my blood brother, we grew up together. Me and him talk about it all the time. Holding yourself accountable. You can't sit here and say my life is valuable, my life matters, and then treat somebody who looks just like you like they the scum of the earth. There should be a code that we have in our hoods or whatever, but nobody speaks on that. Like you mentioned, nobody protests that. And there was a African sister. I forgot which country she was from in Africa, but she was in DC, you know, and she was holding up. Why isn't this organization protesting in Chicago? We're losing a lot of brothers and sisters in Chicago. Why y'all not up there? So I'm guessing y'all, you know, these particular lives don't, whatever, you know. And I'm not saying the full name because I know how they get down or whatever, but that is definitely something that we gotta fix, and we have to take accountability. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, because people going to treat you how you treat yourself, your home, everything. So going back to with the George Floyd case and, you know, the Chauvin case, like, I noticed some peculiar things about it. It's certain people that I talk to about it. Like, if you're not really open-minded, I can't have this conversation with you, you know, because you're going to just you're not trying to understand or comprehend and see, like, you know, how did you see that? You just you looking at it from a mundane perspective. So, like, it was kind of funny to me that, you know, when they showed the first picture of George Floyd, they took a picture of him. He was in front of some bricks. And behind him was a poster of Corona, a Corona beer. And this is kind of like when the virus was kicking off. People was like, yo, you don't think that's interesting? I'm like, But the thing that caught my attention is when they was showing videos of the whole world protesting. Now, don't get me wrong. I find all human life valuable. So don't take anything that I'm saying out of context. I value all human life. So I'm never going to advocate for a cop killing somebody. There's other ways you could get something done. But if their life is in danger, they got to go home to their family too. So it's mine versus yours. But I don't want to mark anybody's life, but let's just say this was a African-American president who got murdered by the police or something, or a politician who's doing something or trying to do something, basically, or a very proficient lawyer or something like that, or a renowned lawyer that's African-American. Now, if they got pulled over, somebody who was doing good in the community got murdered by the police, that makes more sense to me as to why the world would protest. Like, now y'all bugging, because y'all often politicians, lawyers, presidents, senators, and stuff like Africa, like the senator. We got a senator in South Carolina, Tim Scott. Like, if something happened to him, I get it. I'm not even mad at that. They had a gold casket for this brother in Minneapolis. There was a Caucasian brother who was kneeling in front of the casket crying like it was his mother inside the casket. And I'm watching and I'm like, yo, this is buffoonery. Like, they messing with your mind. And it started with this whole virus stuff. They threw more stuff on it and they got you. They got you with the sickness, like, oh, I gotta stay away from you because you sick. Then they got you with your emotions. So put that mask on. And then the symbolic thing is this, right? Take this away. Because I see it all the time, and I think it's whatever. George Floyd was saying what when Derek Chauvin allegedly, you know, murdered him? I can't breathe. And then
I'm not walking around with
They
Yeah, I'm
walking
not
around with a mask saying, "I can't breathe."
right. And I'm not trying to be funny. Like I was telling individuals, like I think if I'm not mistaken, they was saying he was calling for his moms and all that, which to me shows like who does that, bro? I'm not trying to be funny or diss him, but what grown
Nah,
man is gonna call for his what grown man is gonna call for his mother when he's dying? You know what I'm saying?
and
I'm not trying to be funny, bro. That's
th-
just what I'm hearing. Like you calling for your mother when you dying, bro. But the point, the the point is like you making a connection, like you
right.
saying with the whole mask thing. You had
I
talked about
can't
the six
breathe.
feet, the 6 feet social distance, and how the 6 feet brings it conjures up to your subconscious mind the idea of death. You know, 6 feet
Exact
deep.
right.
The mask is a subliminal suggestion to stay quiet, and we see this as a big time of cancel culture. So many people are getting cancel culture nowadays, for real, for real. For
Yeah.
being politically incorrect. So it's like, shut your mouth and things like this. And like when I look at the whole thing, I'm like you said, there are things going on. There's individuals who are really being victims of things who are actually innocent. So when people
Right.
bring that to my attention, I'm like, I'm not being cold-hearted because I've been through it personally. I've been discriminated against by the police, beat up by the police, all that. I'm just gonna say, when I've been beat up by the police, brother, to be 100% honest with you, it was for me resisting arrest and starting some shit. I'm gonna keep it real with you. So I never complained, bro. I never went to to the politicians like they harassed me because I'm responsible as a man. Like, nah, you know what?
Right.
I honestly did get out of line, and when the police whipped my ass, at least in my instances, it was justified for me. Now, don't get me wrong. Like, remember when Diallo got killed in New York years ago in the Bronx? Remember that? Amadou Diallo?
Nah. Uh-uh.
Amadou Diallo in the Bronx, bro. He got shot 40 times by the police, brother. You don't remember that? Come
Nah.
on, bro. Anyway,
Nah.
Johnny Cochran took the case, and that Amadou Diallo's mother fired him because he wasn't. But anyway,
What?
Amadou Diallo got shot 40 times, bro, by the New York Police Department. Amadou Diallo was actually innocent, bro. He was a working man and all that. He pulled his
That's
wallet out.
overkill. Yeah.
Yeah, he pulled his wallet out and they said it was a gun. But really they panicked because it was just already a prejudice they had in their mind. He was African. He wasn't African American. He was African. But it's like, oh, the wallet. They reacted. Boom, 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 and shot him 40 times. It was crazy, right? That was a big thing, bro. So an Amadou Diallo situation is messed up, bro. That's something that you could look at and be like, all
Right.
right, Amadou Diallo, he's a working man, bro. He was unjustly killed by the police. And he didn't get justice because the police beat that case. So, and with something like Floyd, it's like, nah, bro, that's not the right poster boy for that.
Right.
Not in my opinion. Because George Floyd, and I'm not judging him negatively, but the fact is, he was the type of dude that his track record shows it, bro. He was not a good person, bro. He
Right.
wasn't. And I'm not saying any of us are perfect. I'm just saying I've never put a gun to a pregnant woman's belly, bro. I'm not going around high off methadone and cocaine and all of that, passing bills, resisting arrest. So that was like a bad situation. But like I said, another sign is it was Hitler's birthday, bro. That whole thing. So
I'll give you
even on
something
that
else.
day, yeah,
I'm gonna add, I'm gonna add to
what?
that.
Hold up, what? Were you aware that the NYPD was posted up over here on 420, bro, deep on Times
Nah.
Square? Look, bro, they
Nah.
were waiting. Check it, check it. Keep your thought in mind. They were posted because the call went out that if this dude is found innocent on a verdict, and remember there's an appeal, and he wasn't found guilty of murder, Chauvin. He was found guilty of unintentional murder. So for people that don't know the law, when you get found on guilty of 3 charges just dealing with any type of manslaughter, typically what's going to happen is the when it comes to sentencing, the time is going to run concurrent. It's not going to run consecutive.
Yeah,
it's going to be concurrent. So a manslaughter charge, you don't get a lot of time for a man, relatively speaking. You don't get a lot of time for a manslaughter charge. Like intentional murder or depraved indifference.
that's a little bit
A
different.
type of a murder, that's when you're seeing 25 to life, that type of thing. Or if it's actually premeditated, you get natural life in New York. So it's not that type of a deal. But the call went out, so the NYPD, they was posted up in 42nd Street, Times Square, because that's a major center. So their whole thing was like, yo, if that verdict comes in that he's innocent, they're expecting such and such organization, whose name I'm not going to mention, exactly,
right. We all know.
riot and do the same thing in New York City that they did when Trump was first elected. I don't know if you remember when Trump was first elected, they were throwing cocktail bombs in Manhattan. I'm not going to say what political party was doing it, but let me just say that it was the people that were it was the people who are anti-Trump. They were rioting, bro, beating people up in the streets, and the Republicans are looking at it like, hold on, what is this? I thought you guys were so just. Why are you destroying property, throwing cocktail bombs? Just accept your loss, right? So anyway, so they were stationed there, bro. So the reason I'm mentioning that is that you have to be mindful that when the public pressure is on from the blind mob, the jury is automatically going to be under pressure to be like, let's just find them guilty for now. Because if we don't find them guilty for now, there's going to be rioting. So to stop that, let's just do that. Sweep it under the rug. He's going to appeal.
That's why I said it's not a win.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly not a win. And it's not a win, at least in my opinion. And now we got so much black on black crime going on, bro. I'm not worried about the police brutal. I do know there's crooked cops, bro. Wherever there's a person, when you take the police test to become an officer, they don't see if you're racist or not. That's not one of the qualifications. Just like if I get hired to work at any job. If I work at McDonald's, for instance, you think they care if I'm a racist or not, bro? That's not one of the qualifications for getting the job. They don't see if you're racist or prejudiced, you know? So like we do understand that at least from my perspective, I definitely agree that there are Jim Crow laws, and we're from the East Coast. The South is different. So I do acknowledge that there's Jim Crow laws in existence and there's discrimination and this, that, and the third, 100%, bro. But do I think it's it exists to the level that I'm actually scared, bro? Or I'm really going out of my house like, damn, the biggest worry I have today is the police department is going to kill me today. No, bro. Not at all.
The NYPD, especially like where I'm at in the Bronx, they be chilling. Right. Every now and then, depending on they sometimes they'll be debating with each other. Yo, can I ask you a question? Hey, what's up? And we politic. But I don't go up there with that kind of energy. Even when I'm in the South, of the many times, even in Baltimore, around the time that Corinne Gaines lady got killed, I got pulled over. And normally or naturally, you ask, damn, is this it? I ran a stop sign and everything. He walked up. Yo, you seen that stop sign? I said, yo, officer, I'm not going to front you. I ain't see that shit. Excuse my French, but I was like, I ain't see it. So he's like, yo, where you from? I'm like, I'm from New York, but I live in the Carolinas. He let me go with a warning. And then the question hits me like, why did he let me go? Like, why he ain't say, yo, he's black, he got locks, he got a tattoo on his neck, on his wrist too. He's probably a thug, probably got some weed in the car. Yeah. Let me pull him out and hem him up. Like, why not? You know what I'm saying? Of all the times that, I've been with people who have a darker skin complexion, like my brothers. My mother's kids they have a much darker complexion than me. They be with me,
Yeah.
and the police don't violate. So it be hitting me like, how is this even possible? Then I start realizing it's a form of manipulation. So the point that I was going to make when you had mentioned when you spoke about the case again was, notice how like right before the verdict or right around the verdict, 10 miles away from where he got murdered, another guy gets murdered, the Dante Wright dude. And I'm like, y'all think that's just coincidental, right? It's just, bro, it's set up that way. And then when I watched the video for that particular case, there was some people who was pointing out, yo, look, when you pull the trigger
they
for a
were
gun,
claiming, some individuals were claiming on social media, even on different podcasts, that kid's school teacher was George Floyd's girlfriend or whatever.
I don't know about
Who
all of
knows?
that, but
But yeah,
right.
because you never know with all the stuff that
I mean, it was close
you
enough.
know.
It was like they was 10 miles away from the original incident. But if you look at the video, which most police departments never release their videos, their body cams like that.
Right.
That Dante joint came out just like that. And if you notice, you're always going to get a spark of fire when you shoot your gun. Everybody knows that. Go watch the video and see what the
I
sparks of
fired
her
guns
gun is.
before. Yeah, I
And
fired guns
also
before.
too, as part of police training, I'm telling you this from experience. Like I went to go get a job as a cop a couple of times. I didn't go through with it, but I understand how the training goes. You never mistake your taser for your gun because they're not on the same side.
Right.
Everybody knows that. So for the excuse to be, oh, I thought my gun was my taser, if you left-handed, your gun goes in your left side because that's your left hand. Your taser goes in the opposite side. If you right-handed, your gun goes in your right side. The taser goes opposite. She didn't forget, and she held it up high enough to see that it wasn't a taser. And when she let off, you don't see no kick, no sparks flying. So it's just like, but we wanted to touch on that topic. We got something, that's interesting for you guys. We just wanted to kind of like lay that out there for you. Because we could go on with that.
Yeah.
Don't forget,
and if y'all watch it later, leave your comments. My whole thing is stop the black on black crime, bro.
That's what I was about to say. I was about to tell them, like, don't forget what you mentioned.
We know in New York City, we're not everywhere, but we're in New York City, and we know that every week, bro, you got individuals on the train station getting pushed in the train tracks, bro.
Wow, yo, like
you got every damn near every day something crazy, and in majority of instances, it's black on black crime, bro. So we're not seeing protests about these things. These are the things we're not seeing the protests about. So it's either our people are cool with it, because you know how the hip hop culture is. I'm not saying pure hip hop. I'm saying the mainstream garbage. Yeah, the mainstream garbage. Yeah, the mainstream garbage. It encourages black on black crime. It encourages prostitution. It encourages all type of nonsense. And these same people that's talking about, yo, the police is killing us crazy, which I don't agree with. I do agree that there is police brutality and isolated incidents and things like that. But I think more of the problem is, black on black crime, that type of thing. And the same people that are sitting in the suburbs, I'm saying so-called minorities that ain't in the hood, bro, that's in the suburbs. Like a person that's, I guess, closely related to me, you could say. He's like, yo, you see what happened to this kid Dante? I'm like, yo, bro, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I don't feel bad for that kid. Why don't I, if that is what really happened? Because I saw the tape, whether the tape is fake or whatever it is. Bro, come on. They try to handcuff you. You wiggled out. You try to get in your car and drive away, and you had a gun warrant. What I wouldn't expect anything other than the police to try to shoot you. I really honestly wouldn't. What do I think? The police are just gonna let you drive off? happily. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, listen, bro, I'm concerned about the black kids in my family, bro. I'm concerned about my nieces and my nephews and things like that. I'm concerned about that. So for the individuals, so for the individuals that are really getting caught in the crossfire of all these gang wars, bro, and all the black on black crime and nonsense that's going on, I'm concerned about that, bro. Who's gonna protest about that? It's the same thing that happened with like that check it. It's the same thing that happened with that junior kid in the Bronx. I remember like 2018. And I found that I didn't find what happened to him laughable, but what I found strange about it was like individuals in the community, they were protesting against the store owner, the Dominican dude who owned the store, because the Dominican dude let the guys who killed him drag him out the store and chop him down with the machetes. Now the thing is this: why would you go to the store and protest to shut this guy's store down, but you didn't protest against the gang members? I didn't see none of them protesting against the gang members. You know why they didn't protest against the gang members? Because they know better. The gang members is going to bring you that same type of energy. So no, they didn't go and try to persecute those gang members. They didn't do that. They persecuted a guy who owns a store. Look at the logic of it. This is one man. He owns a store. You got a gang full of dudes coming with machetes. Would you have stopped and jumped in the middle of it and helped Junior with them dudes with machetes? No, you wouldn't have. You would have did the same.
Chopped up too.
You would have did the same thing the store owner did, which was like, damn, I can't do nothing right now, man. These dudes got mad machetes. That's nothing I could do. So that's the phoniness and that's the fakeness of it. But they persecuted that man, like, yeah, shut his store down, because he let these gang members chop this kid down. But you wouldn't have did nothing either if you was there. Most people wouldn't. I'm not saying nobody wouldn't, but most people wouldn't. So instead of going to stop the gang violence, they didn't try to stop the gang violence. They went against a civilian. And it's the same thing with the cops. Everybody knows most cops are not going to come and try to gun you down like it's the Wild Wild West. Come on now.
That's a fact.
You could get away with cursing a police officer out in New York City a lot of times, bro. and they're not gonna attack you. Let's keep it honest.
No, that's really, a fact, bro. You're not gonna get away with that in the South, but out here,
yeah. New York City, bro, you get away with it a lot of times. The police officer be like, "Oh, this he's cursing me out," you know, or this woman's cursing me out. As long as you don't get physical with it,
right?
It is what it is. So I think we need to focus on that type of thing, man, because damn near every week, New York is New York, but you know, Chicago is very bad. Not all of Chicago. I'm just saying that the ghetto part. There's murders every day, man, and nobody is coming out to protest. I'm not saying nobody is, but it's not making major headlines. These are the things we need to focus on that regard.
It's kind of funny too, right? And this my last point. You know, people laugh at this guy Trump, you know, and you know some of the stuff he does is laughable. I think he's hilarious, but he was like, if you look at all of the cities where like there's a lot of black on black crime, look at the mayor. The mayor is either this particular party or a person of color. Chicago, we have a person of color who's associated with a particular party, and they wilding out. When I was going to physical therapy for my shoulder, on the news, Brooklyn was up there. Yo, they just let a dude out. He clipping people sooner. I mean, bro wasn't even out for a week. He clipping people just on the camera, bro, just with it. And I'm just like, yo, they wilding in Brooklyn. Like, he just with it. And it's kind of just like that. Nobody gonna say nothing to him either. Like the police just gonna have to catch him. That's it. He just have to go back up top or whatever, you know. And when I was working inside of the facility with the kids, man, you should have seen the badge of honor that they felt to be and to be locked up as a juvenile, to have a gun charge, like because when you're a professional, when you get the job, they tell you never ask the kid what they're in for, but you build with the kids to get a relationship with them. So, you know, I was like, yo, we need to have a group circle or whatever, which I want to talk about. And the kid was like, yo, let's talk about what we in for. So off the rip, I'm like, nah, we can't do that. So my coworker was like, yo, let him rock, bro. So I'm using my discretion. I'm like, you know what? Fine. I ain't gonna judge nobody. Talk. Yo, 3 of the kids, gun charges. They talking about it like, yeah, yo, I robbed son. He got tight. So he smacked me in the head. So I offed him. And it's a kid. And I'm looking at him like, yo, I'm looking at kids with bodies, with 4 bodies. Right. I'm a grown man. About to have a seat and everything. Like, I've never taken nobody's life. So I'm looking at this kid like, yo, the anger in their eyes, but the passion behind, they set tripping over gangs. They throwing stuff up. Yo, who you? Yo, he said he's so-and-so. Nah, bro, you not good. And this culture is appropriated through the music. That's a major vehicle. I tell my homies all the time, bro. Y'all praise that music. Y'all listen to the baby character and all these other dudes who probably don't even live his life. You're not taking accountability, because even though that you don't live that kind of life, you listening to that music is still appropriating that culture. We got brothers that's really dying out here. You feel me? And sisters that's really dying. We losing our little daughters and stuff like that. Like, somebody got to be held accountable.
Yeah, absolutely. They glorifying it. You know what I'm saying? This like, you got all type of false flaggers, bro. They listen to the music. I've seen it in the workplace. I see females throwing up gang signs working the courts, bro. Like, oh, you supposed to be professional. You throwing up gang signs that you see in the music video. Is this serious? But really, bro, this is what goes on. And it's like, what? You supposed to be a person working for social justice, and you're influenced by gang culture and a rap video, and that's really what happens. So it's, bro. So these are the and the same thing goes for a lot of people, you know, that's you know, on social media and whatever they're doing, talking about, they're killing us and this, that, and the third. And it's like, nah, the rest of your social media posts show all type of ratchet nonsense. So how is it on the one hand you're for this, and then on the other hand, you twerking, you got your daughter twerking, you throwing up gang signs? Come on now. This is hypocrisy.
So what I just thought about it, because somebody asked about the main topic, so let's go ahead and jump on that. But what we talk about now, I think we should come back. We should touch back on, because it's relevant for all of us. You know what I'm saying? And you got experiences. You got a couple more years over me, so your experiences kind of, you know, yours are profound, which people can relate to. I can relate to from a different perspective, but we should let's pick back up on it. And let's go ahead and jump on it. I got the stuff right here, or why you shouldn't be a Freemason or whatever.
Yeah. Why shouldn't you become a Freemason?
Oh yeah, for the brother who asked, I went to school out in Fayetteville, North Carolina, by Fort Bragg. So I went to Fayetteville State. So my people's is out in that area. So why shouldn't you become a Freemason? I came up with a list that I want to give you guys, because this is pretty much relative to it. Because a lot of people, it's common that you'll see people come up with conspiracy theories. Oh, the Masons are trying to take over the world, and they're the ones who are in control of the vaccinations and stuff like that. Now, if you've been watching the lectures from Brother Majesty, which lectures are dope, when I started watching them, I was like, oh, never heard nobody speak like this. The first thing you're going to learn is that our particular order is not a social club. So we're not doing what the social club Masons are doing. this is an esoteric study, basically. And our purpose is to preserve and teach the wisdom of the ancient mysteries of ancient Egypt and to evolve humanity. So with that comes a form of due diligence that you got to have, which I'm getting ready to go through. So the first thing is, if you can't deal with the truth, that's one reason why you shouldn't become a Freemason, because we deal with truth. We study ancient mysteries of ancient Egypt, and also all of the mystery schools. They developed the systems that we use today, which we call truth, the number systems, the geometry, science. Now, even though science can be proven wrong sometimes, the system that we use to come to we use science to come to knowledge with something, or truth or a fact, basically. So like you would perform an experiment, basically you question something, form your hypothesis or whatever, right? And once you get to an end result, you can now then say whether something is a truth or a fact, or if you get where I'm going with that. So the first thing is, if you can't deal with the truth, like if we're dealing with knowledge inside of the lodge and the truth is delivered to you and that's something that you can't bear, it's probably not something for you. If you can't deal with the reality of things for what they are, like a lot of you have a common belief that, oh, they're the Illuminati. And the thing is, it's so funny because those of us who know what Illuminati means is to bear light, to bear the light, to be in the light. So
yeah,
so when we say the enlightened ones, so when you say peace and greetings to the East, those of us who understand why we say that, you know, illumination means to know, to be enlightened. Right. So you would want to be the Illuminati. You wouldn't want to be in the darkness, because imagine you not know, like, think about it, right? If you're the only person in your classroom, let me use a classroom example. If there's a joke going around and you're the one who doesn't know, you're in the dark, you don't know. Or if there's a couple or there's a group of people who know and you don't, but the rest of the class doesn't, you're in the dark to something that they're enlightened to. With this culture that we have today, with the cancel culture and everybody jumping on trends, everybody wants to know now. What are they talking about? What are they over there doing? What is this challenge? So you want to know. But the problem is, what I found is that you don't want to put the work. Most people don't want to put the work in. I don't want to put that on y'all, the viewers. Most people don't want to put the work in to know what truth is, or how do you even come to truth. You got to put the work in, and you have to hold yourself accountable. It's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, and that comes with different forms of etiquette. Being mindful of what you hear on the news. Being mindful about how different politicians report information to you and how you take that. Because you, like, I'll give you an example. I said something about a news report, and my uncle said, you got to watch CNN. He's polarized. He's not willing to look at the truth from all perspectives. He can't deal with it, but he'll say, I'm God body. But the white man is controlling him. See, you got to be able to let go of all of the program systems in your mind. You have to let that go in order to be able to accept or open yourself up to truth, basically. And when we do our lodge work, there's certain rituals that explain certain things, so you'll get that on a deeper level. I'm not going to speak about that on here, but it'll basically you'll get what it's alluding to, and how you have to be willing to accept the truth. Basically, if you can't deal with the truth, that's one reason why you shouldn't be a Freemason. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add before I go to the next one?
Nah. One of the viewers asked, if I may ask, brethren, what branch of Masonry did you join first? I could say for me, Brother Righteous was always Blue Majestic. I could say for me, when I came into Masonry, I was under ancient free and accepted Masons, John G. Jones lineage. But I left that because that's all social club Masonry, like Prince Hall. There's nothing there. There's no educational curriculum in those Masonic. Those are social clubs. So when you're in an organization like that, whether that's Prince Hall, and I'm not disrespecting anybody that's a part of it. I'm just telling you what those organizations are. They're just social clubs. There's no education there. So you have a bunch of individuals who you're amongst an organization of individuals who are uneducated. So it doesn't work out good. It just doesn't work out good. So for me, I left that type of masonry alone because there's just no education, and then you have to deal with the nonsense of a bunch of people who are just not educated. They're not educated in world history. They're not educated in science. They're not educated in the liberal arts or anything like that. But go ahead, brother, continue.
Yeah. So yeah, like Brother Majesty mentioned, for me, this is my particular order. This is my first one. I have never been in any other order. I petitioned for like college fraternities, but I never went through with it. And even after college, it was kind of no point. Like, so the reason why I like this, and like I said, the universe works in mysterious ways, as so they say, God works in mysterious ways. Now, I know that the universe, what I understand about the universe is that everybody has free will. What you desire or what you send energy towards will attract towards you. It will gravitate towards you, basically. So you put energy or direct the energy towards something, it will find you. Because prior to this, to me joining Blue Majestic, I never knew that Blue Majestic existed. I only knew about the mainstream Masons and them, saying certain things around me, riding the goat and stuff like that. You ready to ride the goat? And I'm like, what does that even mean? And what if somebody put you in a casket and buried you and all this other stuff? But when I heard about the curriculum, that's what caught my attention, because I know, like, you're going to have to hold yourself accountable. Ain't no just, oh, yeah, this is what I am. You're going to have to prove that. I'm proficient in this, and that. I know how to read, write, articulate myself properly. I know how to, cut the switch on. Like, I know when to be urban and chill, and I know when to be professional. You got to know how to do that. So that's what I like most about this. My second point of why you shouldn't be a Freemason, why you shouldn't become a Freemason, is if you're not a liberated thinker or if you're not a free thinker. That's one thing. So that's a question that you'll be asked. What does that mean to be a free thinker? Meaning, do you have the capability of thinking on your own? When the news media or when the world presents information to you, are you one to say, yeah, everything that they say is true? Like, for instance, I'll give you an example of how I free think, right? People say, Trump is a racist. Let's use that example. I say, how do you know that Trump is a racist? Bro, he's racist, but how can you prove that and how do you know that? So my first question is, have you ever met Donald Trump before? No. Do you know anybody that knows Donald Trump? No. Have you ever been in his vicinity at any point in time? No. So how do you know he's a racist? You don't even know who he is as a person. So when I free think, my thing is, I don't know this person for me to judge them. And I wasn't there at this particular time for this event to say that this did or didn't happen. I'll give you another example. Like, when it comes to events that happen, like let's use 9/11. Why can I attest to you and tell you that it happened? As far as the schematics of what exactly took place, I can't say for sure because I wasn't actually in Manhattan. I was in Brooklyn. But surely enough, we had burnt paper ashes in our school playground flying around. I seen it. And I remember the buildings not being there no more. I remember seeing the smoke or whatever. I remember seeing that. So I can attest to that particular event. Was the smoke up there? Definitely. I didn't see the planes hit it, so I can't attest to that. I could only verify what I was able to witness. So when I think about things, I'm liberated. A lot of people like to say, like, when I speak about Barack Obama and the perception or the illusion of hope and change, because that's what his two campaigns were surrounded about.
Right.
He sold you hope and he sold you change. Now, there's a music project that I'm working on. I'm gonna say a little bit of the lines for y'all so y'all could kind of get where I'm going with this. And it goes, Obama promised us change. We never got a single penny. Hence the reason why I'm sitting drunk off this Henny. I'm trying to find a redirection if there's any, but my Google Maps is fucked up because Siri drunk off the Henny too. Excuse my French, that's a part of the song, but I put that in there because I want people to start thinking. You got to be a free thinker. You got to question everything. And I'm not saying that everything is a conspiracy. I'm not saying everything is wrong. But when people present information to you, you have to learn how to dissect that. And the more and more that a person that can prove themselves worthy, they're a trusted source. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't. They have to still go through the same protocol. Okay, how do you know this to be true? Did you experience this every single time, even if it's a trusted source? Because you never know at what point in time they might say, all right, now we're going to manipulate them. So that's my second point. If you're not a free thinker or a liberated thinker, that's the second reason why you shouldn't become a Freemason. You good?
Go ahead, brother. I'm listening.
I bet. My third point is this. If you're not willing to learn, that's a big thing. A lot of us come into the order with a lot of knowledge and with different backgrounds. For me, I'm into Hermetic philosophy, and I'm growing my library currently. I'm into political science and public administration. So when it comes to like constitutional laws, when it comes to criminal justice, that's what I have my bachelor's degree in, my first one. I'm a bit, I'm proficient in those areas. I can tell you for the most part how most states operate. Because I don't only read the federal constitution, I read the state constitution. For those of you who don't know, there's state constitutions and there's federal ones. And a lot of us, we like to look at what they're doing in DC, but you need to look at what they're doing in your state. And I'll give you a quick example. This dude, Andrew Cuomo, he's the governor for New York State. And if you notice, DC or Joe Biden or Trump had no say-so over what they could do with their marijuana laws. The governor passed the law, but the Congress for New York State had to propose that bill. And the governor is like, okay, yes or no. So what you're looking at is this. The governor is basically the president of the state.
Right.
The same way you see DC, how they run and operate with the presidents and the speaker of the house and all that, you got the same thing on a state level. So you need to look at who you're voting for on a state level. You got state representatives and you got state senators alongside of the federal senators. That's two for each state. Remember that. So the thing is, if you're not willing to learn, like, even though I know all of that, there's a lot that I don't know. So when I step into the lodge and we have our meetings, I'm always taken aback. I'm like, dang. And it humbles me because I'm like, there's a lot that I don't know. So I'm willing to learn because I realize this is something that I don't know. And I'm interested in learning. But it also helps me look at things from a different perspective. So when I look at my literature that I have on my bookshelf, I'm always going back and I'm looking at it differently and I'm learning more. I'm taking more in. I'm processing it. I'm free thinking about it, about the particular object or subject. I'm like, okay. And I'm deciphering what is truth and what is not. But like, for instance, if you read the Kabbalion, it'll tell you right there, all truths are but half truths. So you basically, when you come to reason and you come to realize that something is truth, you also got to realize that it can be exposed as well. It can be broken down. So that my third point, like I said, is you have to be willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn, that's another reason why you should not become a Freemason. Because if you're the one who's trying to teach, we're all learning and building from each other. But you got to be able to take something in. And I want to mention something because that conversation that me and you had, it hit home for me. Like, it really did something to me. When you're having a conversation, the person talking is the person directing, and the person that's listening is the person that's on the receptive end because you're listening. And even though I know about positives and negatives, and the woman being the receptive energy and the man being the directing force, I had never once thought about it from a conversation perspective. So when you said to me, like, my brother, if I don't embrace the feminine aspect of a conversation, which is receptive, I can't receive your message. I was like, oh, all right, because it makes sense. If you're not willing to learn, if you can't be receptive, if you can't absorb the feminine energy or the feminine energy of being receptive and absorbing, you're never going to learn anything. The universe will send you things, and you will reject yourself because you're not willing to be receptive. You can't always be the driving force energy. Sometimes
Right.
the
And that's
roles,
like the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah, the whole mystical tradition of the Kabbalah deals with reception. Kabbalah means that which has been received. You know, the mystical path of the Kabbalah
right.
is reception. That's the meaning of it, to receive. You
See,
know, but
I have to learn about that.
yeah, so in the meditative state, you know, that's just the esoteric aspect of the Bible and whatnot, Kabbalah. To meditate and get in tune with the universe, you bring your mind into a receptive state. You know, the feminine pole. But go ahead though,
Um,
bro. I hear what you're
yeah.
saying.
Um, there was a couple questions. He said, brother, people
Yeah,
still recognize that we.
yeah.
I,
Go
I'm
to
gonna
your
so I'm
points first, and then we'll get to that after
all
you go
right.
to
Copy. All right,
to
so
your fourth point. We'll get to that.
right, so not not willing to learn is another point when it comes to why you shouldn't become a Freemason. Is you're not willing to learn, then you already counted yourself out pretty much because there's a lot that you have to learn. You know, it's like when I received not only my examination, when I received even the catechisms, and then going through the rituals, it's kind of like, yo, it's so much more to learn. And I'm only in my first degree, or approaching. I'm finishing my probationary period, so I'm still like, I'm still fresh, somewhat, but it's like, dang, I'm just beginning, and this is a lot. So I have to let go of, yeah, I read the Kabbalion, or I read the Hermetica, and I know this and that. Yeah, that's good, but I have to be like, not. But what can Freemasonry teach me about life and about the Hermetic philosophies that's inside of that book? I have to let go and allow myself to learn. You have to be willing to learn. And my last point is, if your heart is not in it, don't do it. It's just plain and simple. Um, because I'll be honest with you, you're gonna have your questions. What is this? Is this legit? How I don't know if this person is scamming me? Yeah, it's natural. We go through that with every avenue of life. You know what I'm saying? Because when it's something new, because a lot of the times you got a lot of phonies. It's hard to trust people in 2020 or 2021 because you
Yeah,
got so many people that's perpetrating or hustling.
like when
Especially
we was
like with
talking about the voodoo thing earlier.
um I'll give you one better though. The conscious community. Like, you got brothers that's profiting off of that. They don't really care about
Absolutely.
how conscious you really are. Now they like, oh, that's what y'all on now? Y'all woke? Bet. So here, because there was a brother. I'm not trying to diss the brother, right? Because don't get me wrong, the brother be fresh, but the dude used to wear like a piece with an ankh on it, right? Talking about, yo, I'm pro black, but the dude he'd be Gucci down. He'd be like Gucci, got a Louis Vuitton belt, probably got some Tavaniti jeans on. He got on some Pradas, bro. He designed it up, but he got
Yeah.
this ankh piece on his head. He like, he talking about diet or whatever, and he getting money. I'm not knocking his hustle, because if you're dumb enough to fall for that, that's on you. But he's hustling off the movement, though. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
me, I'm not so to the point that, I'll take the information from anybody. I'm observing and I'm watching. You got to say something that strikes a chord within my brain, like, okay, they know what they're talking about. I could watch this person. I could listen. But when you start talking goofy stuff, like, you know, like we was talking about earlier, the brother, young Pharaoh, like, I can't get into his stuff. Not dissing him. I just can't. Like, I had a phase where when I was watching the Side Netter channel and stuff like that. And the brother does a good job.
Yo, listen, son is a charlatan. I remember like one of my coworkers was like, yo, son, listen to him. So I listened to him. When I first heard about him, I didn't knock him because he was cursing and all of that. You know, that's what it is. What it is. But I'm listening to this dude, and I'm like, because you know we deal with the ancient Egyptian mysteries, and I'm like, I seen him. He debated a Christian, a profane. Now you know the Christian was profane. He's dumb, deaf, and blind spiritually for sure. However, as far as archaeological evidence, his knowledge of the Greek language and those type of things, because you know the New Testament is originally Greek.
Right.
He knew his stuff as far as that. And the mistake he made was debating this kid on his platform instead of his own platform. The art of war tells you that. You don't fight your enemy on his turf. It's just like basketball, the NBA. If you have home court advantage, you got home court advantage. So I remember watching this Christian dude debating them, and the Christian dude asked him, "Yo, he's like, for example, spell rough," and the dude, young Pharaoh, said RUFF, and the dude is looking at him like on the other side of the screen, and I'm looking like, is this dude serious? You know he got banned from YouTube, but I'm saying like you spell rough RUFF. This dude is a buffoon, bro. ROUGH. That's just basic. So the point is, it makes him look smart because it's his platform. So all he did was do what you talked about before, casting spells on the individual. He'll appeal to the uneducated females. You know what I'm saying? Like the black woman is God, and that's what he does to hustle them. So you know the black female feels to be the lowest of the low. I mean, after the black man in society. I'm not talking about in general. I'm saying in the urban areas. You know, and in the more prominent parts of society, you know, you got black elite, you know, but I'm saying in the ghetto. So your black woman in the ghetto is the same thing when you're knocking on a female in the ghetto. You're gonna tell her what she want to hear. You feel me? She's insecure. She gonna believe whatever you tell her. So that appeals to them. So that was his whole hustle. But but it didn't work out. So I would listen to the thing like, yo, this dude just spelled rough RUFF. Seriously? This dude is not no scholar. He's illiterate, bro. Or he's not illiterate, but he's semi-literate. He's hustling. He's race hustling. So it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And individuals got hustle. But like you said, you start to see it. Like if you really a legitimate hustler, you always gonna do good. But then you saw the same thing, like, okay, boom, you race hustled individuals, and then now you started wearing jewelry. You could see us from the beginning wearing jewelry. You feel me? Dudes don't come out of the woodworks and then just start wearing jewelry once. No, we already been doing whatever we doing. We teaching knowledge. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying, though. So it's like,
that's a fact.
Yeah, so that's what it was with that situation. You know, just dudes race hustling and taking advantage of individuals. And that goes back to what you said as far as like why you shouldn't become a Freemason. If you're not for the truth, you shouldn't become a Freemason. Because you see like how we build, or just in general, free thinkers. We may disagree, but that's okay because we're seeking the truth. We're not here to push dogma. So I could say things just like if I'm on social media, on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll tell individuals I really don't care about Instagram because it doesn't pay me, nor do I care about Facebook because it doesn't pay. I'm not saying it doesn't serve its purpose, but
Right.
we don't make money from Facebook or Instagram. It's
Right.
free. YouTube we make money from. We don't make money from Facebook and Instagram. It's just promotion. So I don't care if somebody likes my post or they don't. If I wanted to get 300 likes, 200 likes, which you have those seasons, all you got to do is just um post something that the masses agree with, and they're gonna like the post. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But if you're being true to yourself, you're gonna speak your mind. You're gonna speak your mind. So that's how that be. But let's recap the what were the 4 points again? Just recap them
So
like in
the 4
sequence.
points, you got can't deal with truth if you're not a liberated or / free thinker, if you're not willing to learn, and if your heart is not in it. Those are the 4 points that I've come up with why you shouldn't become a Freemason. And again, like I said, you could go in depth into all of that, but those are 4 like critical points for me that I realized, because a lot of people, they just want the title. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the
Right.
day, at the end of the day, where everybody to remember is when it's all said and done and it's time for us to kick that bucket, when you go in the grave, you're just gonna be a body. You feel me? So the title is
Absolutely.
dope. Don't get me wrong. Title is definitely dope. It's dope to say, Dr. Righteous or whatever. It's dope. But
Right.
before all the titles even come, you wasn't even born with a title. You was just born. You feel me? So the thing you got to remember is, like I said, we're in search of the truth and we're in search of the light. So if your heart is not dedicated to that, you know what I'm saying? I stated the principle or the purpose of Freemasonry earlier for our particular order. The social club, those particular orders will say is to make good men better. Ours is co-masonry. So our purpose as Freemasons is to preserve and teach the ancient wisdom of the ancient mysteries of ancient Egypt and to evolve humanity. So what we're doing is we're in search of the truth to help evolve humanity, basically. And we're using or studying these ancient systems that predate us for thousands of years. And when you look at those particular civilizations, like you have to be in awe, because it's just like, most humans today don't even think on that kind of level, like the Greeks and the
Definitely.
ancient Egyptians. You know what I'm saying? Like we're so far behind. And so now we're playing catch up in a sense. Even dealing with the issues we spoke about earlier in the video about like black on black crime, we haven't even tackled that yet, but we ready to talk about, oh, this white cop keeps killing us. You know what I'm saying? And when it's not even at a disproportionate rate. How do I know? Because I know how to check the numbers. You got the
Right.
what is that joint called? We used to study it when I was in class. It's the Uniform Crime Report, UCR, or something like that. The FBI does it or something like that. It'll tell you the crime rates, who died by
Right.
what state it was in, all of this stuff. Basically, you could look the numbers up. And so you mentioned something, and I'm not trying to get back on that topic. I just want to make a couple of points on that. Out of 13%, that represents about 42 million to 45 million population, approximately around that area, right? So now we losing they documented that about 2,000 African-American brothers and sisters die to the police every year. But then you have to look at the rate at which we're procreating. The numbers are increasing like crazy. And they're probably going to increase after this whole pandemic, where they made everybody stay home, because y'all know what people was doing. I don't even got, come on, I don't even got to go into all of that. Y'all know what people was doing. But again, to bring it back to the last point is, your heart has got to be in it. Anything that you do, when you're in any profession, whether that's politics, whether that's acting.
Right. Yeah, because
Your heart has to be in it.
Right, because look at this, and we'll go back to the original point. Somebody else brought up a good question. Going back to the other segment that we dealt with, when it comes to the just masonry. Masonry is just not a philosophy. It's an organization. So when individuals have no accountability, responsibility, etc., it's not for you. It's just not, because it's an organization. So with the masses have no accountability or responsibility. They don't grasp that. And this is why it's tricky, even when we deal with the social issues. Right? Even like in the penitentiary, like you worked in the prison system before. I've done social work. I still do social work. And I'll see it. I definitely know cats that'll be like, yo, son, watch this. If they deny me something, I'm going to pull a race card out the wallet. Literally, bro. They'll be like, yo, son, you didn't do that for me because I was black. And they'll sit back and they're purposely doing it to manipulate. And you got Caucasians who do it too. You feel me?
And they do it in prison.
This is real talk. They will do it. So if you're not swift, you'll fall for that type of thing. So responsibility and accountability. If you're not responsible and you're not a person who is willing to take responsibility, Freemasonry is not for you, because there's rules. It's still an organization.
Right.
Other individuals depend upon you. It's interdependence, basically. So those are all good points. Now, somebody asked, and this goes back to the other segment, the original, the first segment we dealt with. Okay. This individual says, I joined Freemasonry back in no, excuse me. I'll go to that after. This person said, aren't black people still recognized as 3/5 of a man? With no law, a white citizen is bound to respect under federal law. So we'll touch upon that right now, because that's significant, right? And that's going to bring us to the federal constitution that Brother Righteous was talking about. The federal constitution, the United States Constitution. Now, once upon a time, it's still a good point because it's good for historical purposes, 100%.
Right.
Once upon a time, a non-Caucasian was seen as 3/5 of a man. For anybody who had grandparents or whatever that came into this country, even in the 1900s, like the early 1900s to the mid 1900s. Like, my grandparents come from another country. They weren't born here. They weren't born, not my grandparents, they're foreigners. So when they came here, they came from another country. My grandparents being Latin, they didn't get to drink out of the white only fountain. That's a fact. I don't know if people think that's what was going on.
People probably don't even know that.
I presume sometimes, because I be thinking like you got some people who have Asian grandparents or whatever, like from China, Japan, Pakistan, whatever, Asian grandparents. If you were not Caucasian, you can't drink at the white only fountain. You go to the colored line. Segregation. It's not just African Americans. I don't know who thinks that. If you were not Caucasian, you can't. You got to go to the colored section. I'm saying in that time period.
Right.
So once upon a time, whoever was non-Caucasian was considered 3/5 of a man. That's for sure, especially during the slavery era. Now, there was a certain amendment that changed that. There's a certain amendment that changed that. Which amendment was that, brother? The 13th or the 16th?
14th Amendment. The 14th
The
Amendment.
4th.
Yeah. The 14th Amendment is it gets profound, and that's why I'm not
Oh no,
laughing
the
at the brother.
13th. The 13th Amendment. Pardon me. The 13th Amendment was dealing with the Federal Reserve Bank, right? That's what the 13th
Now, if I'm
Amendment
not
is.
mistaken, I think 13 was the one that's supposed to abolish. It was the abolition of slavery or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, so I was right. All right. So the 13th
Yeah.
Amendment is what switched the 3/5 law. So now it becomes when you're naturalized, which is what happened to the African Americans who were now quote unquote not citizens. The 13th Amendment. Now what happens is that slavery is abolished, but it is legal for individuals convicted of a felony. So this is why when you go to prison in the United States, we're not talking about county jail. We're talking about when you're sentenced to a time period that is beyond a year in which you become a state inmate. Now, when you work a job, you get paid slave wages. For example, in New York State, in the state penitentiary, let's say you work in the industry, which would be a good job, but they have lesser jobs. But let's say you work an industry job where you make the license plates for New York State. Those are made in Auburn Correctional Facility. If you're in Auburn Correctional Facility in New York State and you work in a metal shop or the license plate shop,
Right. So
all of
yeah,
the
I was right.
license plates, yeah, all of the license plates on your car are made there in that jail. That's where they're made, and then they get sent down to the DMVs, right? The respective Department of Motor Vehicles, throughout New York State. So you'll get paid, give or take, like $50 every 2 weeks. That's slave wages. So you're getting paid about $25 every week to make license plates. You're working a regular job, but in jail, in prison, and you're getting paid $25 every week. So that amendment of the Constitution, the 13th, you said, right, brother?
Right. So the 13th abolishes slavery. But so what we're talking about is the 14th, which the 14th, which is makes a person a United States citizen or something like that. But I found the clause though for the brother, and what it is it says this often misinterpreted to mean that African Americans as individuals are considered 3/5 of a person, or that they are 3/5 of a citizen of the United States. The 3/5 clause, Article 1, Section 2 of the United States Constitution of 1787, in fact, declared that for the purposes of representation in Congress, enslaved blacks in a state would be counted as 3/5 of a number of white inhabitants of that state. And to verify that, I'm gonna get my Constitution up there and read it. I keep that on deck. So now I gotta get the
Right.
federal,
But check it,
the
check
state
it.
one.
But check it. Stay on point with what you're saying. But I'm saying the 13th Amendment, correct, is what abolished slavery, right?
That's right. That's a fact. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, right. So the 13th Amendment specifies that slavery is now abolished, but not for individuals who are convicted
Right.
of a felony. So when you go to jail, you're a slave.
Yep.
It's there.
Yep.
And this is why, like in New York, as far as like working in the courts, like we passed some bills on bail reform last year and things like that, because we realized in New York, particularly in New York State, like the brother said, every state has its own politics. But in New York State, we knew that mass incarceration was a problem. Mass incarceration meaning that if there are individuals who aren't working jobs, I'm not saying I think like this. I'm saying you got to be realistic that we live in a capitalistic society. So it became this. If individuals are not working jobs, they're just laying up, what better to do with them but to put them into prison so that they can make money for the state? So naturally, the police would go around. It's not that the police think about this in their own mind. The orders are coming from a higher power.
Right.
And it ain't the God of the Bible. You feel me? It's like, yo, start getting these guys who don't work. You feel me? Who don't have jobs. They want to lay around or they want to stand on the corner all day in front of the store and arrest them and put a, lock them up. Because it's better for the state. Not saying we believe that that's what should be done. I'm just saying how the state government runs. Think about money. We're in a capitalistic society. They're not working jobs. They're on the corner. They're in the projects. They're not working jobs. Shit, we should just lock them up. All we got to do is sit and wait for them to commit a crime. Why? Because most crimes are based on poverty issues. Most crimes deal with individuals not having money. Most people commit crimes because they're trying to get money. Let's keep it real.
Everything is surrounded by currency, by that aspect.
Yeah. Not everybody's committing crimes for money, but most are. I don't have enough money to feed my family. Like women, when they sell their bodies, prostitution. We see it on Instagram all the time. Women are selling their bodies on Instagram every day. That's
every day. And they don't understand that concept.
Yeah, but why? Because they can't get enough money otherwise. They don't have the education, they don't have the connections. So they're doing that to make money, to be able to live in a decent apartment, so on and so forth. So, and that's not making an excuse for them, it's just that's why they're doing it. So mass incarceration became big business. So they would lock up individuals who didn't have jobs, and primarily that would be minorities. Just going back to the history of slavery and all of that type of stuff. Individuals were let go by that 13th Amendment, but then what happened? You let go. You couldn't read before that, right or wrong? Not the free blacks or free non-black.
Right.
Yeah, the ones who were in bondage. It was illegal to read. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they got the telegram. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. So now you're free. You couldn't read because it was illegal. So now what are you gonna do? Now you gotta work. You gotta make a living for yourself, but you don't know how to read. You don't know how to write, or none of that. So what do you think the individuals who do know how to read and know how to write, whether they were black, free blacks, or Caucasians, they's gonna swindle you. Just like record companies do the artists, you feel me, who can't comprehend the contract. We're gonna put them in economic slavery now, because what the hell we gonna do? So it became mass incarceration is what I'm saying. So ask anybody who's in your family who's locked up, or any of your friends or people you grew up with that are in prison. When you go to jail, slavery becomes legal. That's what the 13th Amendment tells you.
Right.
You work for slave wages.
In those regards, that's a fact. You work for slave wages, and it's legal to call it slavery. Now,
absolutely,
another thing with the Emancipation Proclamation, because I don't want to make this a political thing, but it was just trying to answer the brother's question since we touched it. I've been doing some
science guy, man. Do your thing, bro.
I did some study on what the true definition or the meaning of emancipation, and what I found was that what it alludes to is a transfer of ownership, basically. So what I do with history, because I love history too. What I do with history is, instead of getting in my feelings about how life is in 2021, I sit back and I go, what was these dudes doing back then, right? What was life like? What type of cars did they have? What type of mind frame were they in back then, right? How were they thinking? Mm-hmm. So now you have the Union versus the Confederate States.
Right.
And there's a lot of misconceptions that go around it. But basically, what the Confederate States didn't realize was that Abraham Lincoln was trying to put them on. And it goes over everybody's head. This is why the subconscious, where it comes in, right? When people say, yo, Abraham Lincoln, he freed the slaves. He let the slaves go. He abolished slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, he transferred ownership of how you operate slavery. And people go, what you mean? So I go, think about it, right? Outside of what you know, most what we know about slavery is coming from the perspective that what happened to African Americans, right? You have freemen and stuff like that, but you were getting whipped. You were working for cheap. You were working for cheap labor, basically. I'm getting the echo.
Nah, go ahead, talk, bro. That's just my mic. Go ahead, bro.
So basically, the Confederacy wanted to keep the indentured service and slavery in the structure and the form that it was in, basically. Like, no, we get to let them work for cheap labor. We get to whip them when we want to if they don't listen. We get to do all of that. We get full control. Abraham Lincoln came with the proposition of let's do it differently, but keep it the same. We could still enslave them, but we got to call it something different. Because if you keep going this route, they're going to rebel against you and you're going to lose eventually. Because the slaves outweigh the slave masters. Everybody knows that.
Yo, bro, and look at this, right? I'm not echoing, right?
Nah, you good.
All right, now look at this, which is fact, bro. So we had like mass incarceration reform, at least in New York State. Mm-hmm. And this is why a lot of the shit we're talking about now, like people getting pushed in the train tracks, is happening. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't have had bail reform or mass incarceration reform, right? But a lot of the individuals with mental health issues were being pushed into the penitentiary because a lot of people don't want to work with mental health patients. So we don't have a lot of, damn, I don't want to be politically incorrect, bro, but you get it. We don't have a lot of insane asylums and mental health asylums, and we don't have a lot of that because a lot of people don't want to work with those type of clients. Right. They don't want to. So they were just pushing them into prison. So now when they let them go, because a lot of them is not really doing, time for something legitimate, they're coming out in the streets because who else would go and beat up a woman because she didn't want to talk to him? Like who else would do that?
Somebody with mental health issues.
With mental health issues. So there's a major epidemic with that in New York State because of the bail reform rules. So a lot of these mental health individuals in prison were let out. They released. So they in the streets, bro. They homeless. They doing whatever. They don't care. They don't have it up there. So the thing with what you're saying, which is interesting, right? And this relates to the Confederate States and the North. The reason that a lot of Caucasians in the Confederate States would be upset about that at the time Abraham Lincoln did that is, if you really think about it, bro, remember what I said. The percentage of African Americans as far as population in this country is what? 13% as it stands. Right. UScensus.gov. Type it in. That's an official website of the government. 13% of this country is African American. Now remember, we have other so-called blacks. We got Puerto Rican blacks, Dominican blacks, Jamaican blacks, so on, but that's classified as something else.
Right.
Right? On paper, it's classified as something else. But African Americans only make up 13% of the total population of this country right now. UScensus.gov. Go on the website, look it up, it'll pop right up. Caucasians, so-called, make up over 70%, like 74%. I want to say 73, 74%. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with the Emancipation Proclamation. What do you think the U.S. government was going to start doing even to Caucasians? The ones who couldn't cut it, as far as economically speaking, your ass is going to jail. So if you in a certain if you in a certain state like New York City, right? If you not New York City per se, New York State overall. The majority of New York State, I could say this firsthand. The majority of New York State penitentiary is non-Caucasians imprisoned. Fact. The majority. Very few Caucasians locked up in New York State prison system. There are a significant amount, but the vast majority are non-Caucasian. But now let's say you take a state like whatever state. Remember, 74% of the country is Caucasian. So you know how many prisons are full of majority white inmates is what I'm telling you, brother.
Well, when I worked at the prison,
we might judge it if we're in one state and think, oh, everybody in every state prison is majority black. I can assure you that's not the case because the majority of the country is white. So you're gonna have these certain states and counties and cities in the country that I could fucking guarantee you, if you step into that prison, the majority of the inmates are gonna be white. So you are, real quick, make your point, but you already know why a lot of the Confederate states were like, man, fuck Abraham Lincoln with the switcheroo he's trying to do and turn the slavery into a more economic thing of individuals who
right.
don't contribute to the society or they don't work. Let's try to make up certain laws to just lock them up. You know, like certain, like opiate laws. When they had opiate laws, the majority of individuals that were smoking opium in that time period were Chinese Americans. And in that time, they were Chinese. They were the ones smoking opium. So they'd be like, yo, let's make opium laws. Who's going to fucking get caught for opium? Chinese. Start locking them up.
So this is the thing with that, right? And I want to make sure I put the touching point to the brother's question so we could get to the next one. When it comes to that Emancipation Proclamation, the North figured, and you got to look at it like this. When you work for somebody else, that's technically a form of slavery because you got to come in when they tell you to come in. You got to clock in. They give you a certain amount of time off. They have to give you the proper protective equipment if you work on a hazardous job or something like that. It's basically another way to take care of your slave. So now, if you're going to have slaves, make sure you take care of them. So now when you look at these major corporations and what Abraham Lincoln realizes, like, yo, we're growing fast. We got to change the way we do the slavery thing. So yeah, we're going to keep the same form of it, but we're going to control it. We're going to lock these dudes up in prison. But for the rest of the society, you can have slaves, but don't call them slaves. They're workers. They're your employees. Mm-hmm. You got to pay them more. That's your wage, your wages, your minimum wages. That's where all of that is in direct unison or correlation with each other. But the thing is, they realize this. When you go to school, right, they say to you, yo, go to school, get a good job, work 30 years, buy you a house, get married, all that other stuff. To you, you think nothing is wrong with that. That's, they promote it so much. That's the American dream.
Right.
For you, because it's been promoted to you, not you in particular, but for most of the viewers, right?
Right.
So you find nothing wrong with that. You say, what's wrong with getting a job? Now, don't get me wrong. If you got a kid that's out, causing trouble, I would prefer him to just go ahead and go get a job rather than causing trouble in the streets. Mm-hmm. That's a no-brainer. But for those who are enlightened, who know, like, yo, the universe has put all of us in place to make sure that we fend for ourselves. We get our own, so that you don't have to work for nobody else. You get your own bag. So now, Abraham Lincoln figured, yo, any true person who really wants to get it, you want your bag, you're gonna have to work for that. Outside of that, you're gonna be a slave to somebody, but we ain't gonna let them violate you completely, but it's in order. And it's still intact to this day. Because right now,
but remember, we're gonna continue. Let's just do the book giveaway real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so we doing the book giveaway is It Works. Right? The famous little red book that makes your dreams come true. So send the email, majestymontanez@gmail.com. Whoever sends the first email for the book, we'll ship you the book. And this deals with the law of attraction as far as the new age terminology of it.
Right.
It's a good book. Trust me, it's very short. Right? And I'm not going to go too deep into it, but if you want the book, the first person to send the request on the email, just put "It Works" or "I want It Works," whatever. The first person to send it, whatever, we'll ship the book out to you, include your shipping address, and we'll send that out to you. So I had to do that because Brother Wahid was like, "Oh yeah, do the It Works." RHG, the famous little red book that makes your dreams come true. And it basically it deals with accomplishing what you want in life. It's a beautiful book, excellent book. So do that. So now let's get back to what you were saying. Let me say this, not to cut you off, my brother. We got to keep in mind with what you were just saying there. The Emancipation Proclamation, that 13th Amendment, that took place in the 1860s, right?
Right. Around that time frame. Yeah.
Yeah. The 1860s. So remember, the majority of individuals that's getting cut loose out of slavery don't know how to read, bro. They don't, because it's illegal to know how to read at that time. It's like if you read Frederick Douglass's first autobiography, which is fire. It's mad short, but it's a dope book. You know, he escaped.
Right.
He got up out of there. He escaped slavery and he ran to the north. Word, but the shit that's one of my favorite books, bro. Frederick Douglass's first autobiography. So he knew how to read though, but he tells you how he learned illegally. You know what I'm saying? And he tells you in the book, like, I can't tell you how I escaped because there's still individuals escaping slavery at the time. He's like, so I'm not going to put in the book how I did it. He specifies that in that first book. He's like, I'm not going to tell you in the book how I escaped because if I reveal that, it's going to stop. It's going to prevent other individuals from escaping from the South to come to the North. But we could kind of reason that what he was doing was he knew how to. Since he tells you he knew how to read and write, he was basically forging traveling passes. You could put two and two together. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. And they're like, oh, shit, they'll read your traveling pass and be like, okay, it's legit. If you get away with it, you get away with it. If you don't, you know you're going to get brought back to the plantation and beat to death. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is that what are you going to do now at that time when all of these illiterate individuals are free? They're free now, but they're illiterate, bro. They can't read, they can't write. And like when we talked about the science of casting spells and all of that, there's a sure correlation between strong mental power and literacy, knowing how to read and write. If you could read and write good, bro, you could think good. That's for sure. You can articulate yourself well. It doesn't mean that an illiterate person can't be intelligent. We're not saying that, but there's a sure correlation between literacy and strong mental power. We could see it on social media. You see so many people cannot spell to save their lives, bro, even with spell check. And you're like, what the hell is this? What did they just post? This is barely legible. You know what I'm saying? And 9 out of 10 times, those people that spell like that are not really that smart. They're just really not. They can't accomplish great things. So, for the most part, so you have a bunch of people who are illiterate, bro, being just set free. So, like we already agreed upon this, but now becomes an economic slavery because they can't read, they can't write. A lot of them are not skilled laborers. You know what I'm saying? The ones who were proficient with growing cotton and things like that, they survived. That's how the South got a lot of money together. If you think, I'm saying blacks in the South. Think about it, bro. And we see it to this day. Like Atlanta, people will look at Atlanta, Georgia, bro, and think like Atlanta, Georgia is a fucking prominent black city, bro. That didn't come out of nowhere. That was laid down before our time, bro, because those were black, African American blacks, particularly, that were organized. You know what I'm saying? They knew how to get money, bro. They knew what they was doing, and it reflects nowadays.
Right.
You could go down there and be like, damn, if I'm gonna start a black-owned business, and if I want to be in a community of African Americans that are prosperous and that are not on that dumb time, let me go to Atlanta, Georgia. Right? So for a long time, blacks in the South owned land and shit like that, bro. Not all of them necessarily knew how to read coming out of slavery, but they still knew how to, they knew how to cultivate land. You get what I'm saying? They knew how to farm and shit like that. The only setback was that when you're dealing with contracts, like legal business contracts, naturally the Caucasians who were oppressive were going to try to fucking swindle you. Like I said, when it comes to the music business, you have black music business CEOs who will swindle a ghetto African American person who don't really, it's not that they don't know how to read at all, but their vocabulary is not that vast. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll put something in the contract and the artist will sign it and get fucked. You know what I'm saying? They'll get swindled out of what should otherwise be theirs. And it's going to hold up in court for the person who made the contract. So with the Abraham Lincoln shit, like you said, it became economic slavery. So most African Americans that came out of slavery, bro, did not, this shit is real, bro. Most did not know how to fucking read and write because it was illegal already. So what was the next step for you? Or what was the next step that the government was going to put in place? Put these motherfuckers in jail, bruh. Why? Because it would be slavery again. It's cheap labor. We'll lock them up. How the fuck they going to defend themselves amongst a bunch of lawyers, judges, esquires? And when we look at the government, and I'm not trying to get too deep on some conspiracy shit, but this is a fact. Our 3 branches of government in this country are full of lawyers. The president, the president's cabinet, Congress, and the Supreme Court, all lawyers. Barack Obama is a lawyer. And I'm not dissing him, but I don't fall for Barack Obama's bullshit because he's a lawyer. I have a lawyer, so I know my lawyer will lie for me, bro. I'm keeping it real with you. I have a lawyer, and I know my lawyer will lie for me because I pay him to, if need be. And he's gonna be like, "Yo, I'm just representing my client." He's gonna lie for me to get money. So Barack Obama's a lawyer, so I don't trust nothing that comes out of that man's mouth, bro. I don't trust nothing. I'm keeping it 100 with you. His wife is a lawyer, Michelle Obama. I don't trust nothing that comes out of her mouth, bro. Not saying that she's lying all the time or that Barack Obama's lying all the time, but they're lawyers, bro. That's their profession.
There's an
I'm not.
aspect to it
I ain't
that,
stupid, bro.
there's a comment that just came up. It says the U.S. is a corporation, not a country. And what I'll do is on the other show, if I get some time, I'll shoot an episode on it because there's brothers already on YouTube that have already explained that aspect. So to that comment, you are correct. Because if you look at the United States codes, they tell you that when you look at it. I think it's Title 28, Section 3001, where it says definitions, United States. When we say United States, we mean federal corporation. It's not a country. But we're going to have to do that for another video because
and before you proceed, wouldn't it be common sense, bro, that every country is a business? Not just the United States. Because think about it. How is a country gonna subsist?
Well,
everything is economical, bro. Why would a country not be a business? That's for example, speak your piece. But let's say if you're married to a woman, right? And a lot of people don't like to hear this. Let's say you're a husband and you have a wife. That matrimony is a business too. It's a business contract, especially if you do it through the courts.
Yeah.
Right or wrong.
Yeah. That's a fact. Yeah.
It's a business contract. So every country, to my understanding, because the universe is economical, supply, demand, production. Every country is a business. Every man and woman is a business. That would be like me getting up every day, my brother, and thinking that I'm going to fucking just eat the way I eat, my brother, drink the way I drink, smoke the way I smoke, and it's just free. No, bro, I gotta put in work to get that. Right? But go ahead, speak your piece.
I'm gonna do a video for the viewers separately so they could so we could go with like getting real deep with it because there's a lot to it, and that's why it goes back to the question about the 3/5 black people or 3/5. So I'm telling you, and I've been telling our people who this for a long time. If you can do research to find out where you come from, who you come from, you can declare your status in court. Like I've seen people do it. So now there's no such thing as black, and the United States government knows that. And they're working with borders. What do I mean by that? They're working with invisible lines. When you driving from North Carolina to Virginia, they say you cross the border, but you could walk right across. It's the same land. There's no difference. Right. Same trees. So we're working with invisible lines. Now, you have a republic, and then you have a democracy. One operates as the other. It's a lot to go into. Or you know that one is fighting for the slave mentality or this enslavement of individuals in America, where the other one is fighting for your liberty and the rights, your God-given rights that are protected by the Constitution. Mm-hmm. So now there's a case law that was in North Carolina. It was like in 1796 or something like that. Cruden versus Neal. Go look it up. Don't ever, and that's another thing too. Go look everything up. Don't just take everything because we said it. Go do your due diligence. Cruden versus Neal. Every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. He is not bound by any institution set up by his fellow man without his consent. It's case law. This is the 1700s. Every man is independent of all laws except those prescribed by nature. Why?
Right,
because the
keep this in mind, bro. You know there's tacit law, right?
Right. So I was getting ready to touch on what you said about the lawyers. The lawyers understand that. The lawyers know that. They know that the natural law is your God-given rights. Everybody has their own creator, whatever, right? They understand that. Right. But at the same time, they also know too, like, if you can't prove that beyond a reasonable doubt, you're going to follow these laws. because you don't know how to govern
Bro,
yourself, basically.
check it. This is more along the lines of what I'm saying. You have tacit law, right? So you, of course, obviously, you could look at any law dictionary, like Black's Law Dictionary, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's fun. Like, you know, when you in the courts, bro, because you boggle the minds of the district attorney, the judges, whatever, and the way that they be like, damn, he knows law. So yeah, like for example, like there's a maxim in law in America. The burden of proof lies on the plaintiff.
Right.
So if I'm the defendant, I'm not too worried. The plaintiff has to prove their case.
Right.
The defendant don't got too much to worry about if the defendant knows law. The plaintiff has to prove what they're saying. That's just a maxim, right? It's a
Yep.
maxim. The burden of proof lies on the plaintiff. If you say somebody robbed you, you must be able to prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. It's not up to the person that you're saying robbed you.
Yep.
It's up to you, right? So, when it comes to the natural law thing, there's what's called tacit law. So what is tacit? And that tacit means that it's implied, it's not direct, it's implied. That's what that means. So it's like if you go in a restaurant and let's say the restaurant doesn't have a visible menu, right? There's no visible menu like posted up on the walls or anything like that. You know, they'll have a printed menu, but the menu's not on the wall. Like as you would see in a pizzeria or a Crown Fried Chicken or something like, or McDonald's or something like that.
Right.
If you go to your typical restaurant, even if they don't have the menu posted on the walls, it's tacit law that you're not gonna eat there for free. It means it's implied, bro. It's a restaurant, so you can't go in there and just be like, "Yo, I didn't see nothing posted on the wall. I ordered a hamburger, so I should eat it for free." Once it came to me, I shouldn't have to pay the bill. It don't work like that. It's tacit law. So a lot of individuals during like the Abraham Lincoln era you're talking about, African Americans, you know, a lot of individuals left America historically,
Yeah.
right?
That too. I heard about that as
Yeah.
well.
They were given the option, bro. It's tacit law. They left and they started Libya, the country of Libya. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Libya, but they left.
I've heard of that country in
Yeah,
Africa. Yeah.
yeah. But that's how Libya started. Libya was started by freed African Americans. They was like, hell no, we getting on the boat and we getting up out of here. We leaving. Why are we staying here? I'm good. There's too many Jim Crow laws. I'm going over here to this new place and we're going to start our own country. The only bad thing that happened with Libya was that once the freed African Americans went over there, you know, they started slavery over there too. Real talk. Because you know you have black slave owners in America too.
Yeah, nah, that's a fact. It's a fact.
It's in the United States Census, bro. So it's not really a color thing, bro. It's really about power, money, ego, that type of shit. So that's tacit law, meaning something is implied. It doesn't have to be directly stated to you. So how many people are willing to say, yo, if you don't, and I'm not trying to sound like a dick, but you will see dickheads, quote unquote, say, yo, listen, if you don't like America so much, leave and go somewhere else. And to be 100% honest with you, my brother, you can leave. You feel me? That's why I mentioned Libya, because there were African Americans that were freed and they did leave, bro. But the majority did not want to. They were like, nah, we don't know nothing else. We're afraid to enterprise into a new land. We're afraid because it's unknown to us. So we'll rather stay here under these conditions. But a lot did leave. and they started up the country of Libya, which still exists to this day. You know what I'm saying? They got up out of here. Like, hell no. Even brother W.E.B. Du Bois did the same thing. You know, he had his time period with the talented 10th and all of that. You feel me?
Yeah.
Brother W.E.B. Du Bois was smart as fuck. You know what I'm saying? He was a Harvard graduate. He was with that at that time. Like, nah, son, I'm one of the smartest African Americans in this country. So I don't. He was at a point where once upon a time he didn't really respect the illiterate African Americans. Once upon a time. All you got to do is read his literature. He didn't respect them once upon a time. He's like, hell no. I'm African American, but I made it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm mad smart, you feel me? But then he started changing his views as he started traveling around more. And he was like, same thing with Dr. Martin Luther King. He used to travel around a lot, and he started really seeing that homelessness is real. You feel me? You travel through different states and you see different things. But W.E.B. Du Bois, he switched his tune after a while. Like, oh shit, man, I was really a coon. You know what I'm saying? To him, he was like, I was wilding, bro. What the fuck? I didn't see enough. So,
right.
And he was very intelligent. And then he went to Ghana, and he died over there. He became a citizen of Ghana. The point is, he left America. Is the point I'm making, bro. He was like, yo, listen. Paul Robeson was one of his students, if you know about him, the famous African-American actor. And Paul Robeson, he didn't go to Ghana, but he went to England. And he was like, I'm staying in England, just like Tina Turner did. They was like, hell no, they give me way more respect as a black man over here. Overall, not saying in your own neighborhood. I'm saying just overall in the country. So brother W.E.B. Du Bois, that's what he did. He left. He got citizenship in Ghana. He's like, yo, I'm out of here. Dave Chappelle was doing the same thing right now. The comedian. He went through his thing, but he's presumably, you dig?
Yeah.
Going to switch his citizenship to Africa. So there's, to be honest, bro, people waste their money on a lot of shit, bro. They go on vacations in the country over here. They'll be like, yeah, son, I'm going to DR. You see it on social media, like, what? All you got was a $7,000 bag. Why would you take that $7,000 and spend it to go on a vacation? And then you complaining. So you got individuals who go and be like, nah, not for nothing, I could leave this country if I really want to.
You could. Let me see. There was another question up there earlier that a brother asked if to give any advice in anyone trying to advance. He joined Freemasonry back in February. To answer that question, if I had to give anybody any advice on trying to advance, my first piece of advice would be to be patient. Take your time with the information, but don't be in a speed to or don't be in a rush, excuse me, rather. Don't be in a rush to advance steps or degrees because of the title. Everybody wants to, go down in history as, oh, I'm a master mason, or I'm 33rd degree. Don't get me wrong. Like, I feel y'all because it sounds dope. It's just like being a general of the military. Right? It sounds dope. Mm-hmm. But what does it truly mean? Can you really break down every aspect of what it means to be a 33rd degree Mason and how that relates to not just yourself, but all of humanity? What do you see that they can't see? So really the true advancement is realizing that your soul is learning and growing. And that when you take care of the soul and the body, when you take care of the soul, it will take care of the body. So don't, the best advancement is just your patience. Do the work, put the work in, make sure you practice. That's another thing. That's what I've been doing is practice. Once you get it a part of your subconscious mind, it'd be like remembering your phone number from when you was a kid. You know, like your telephone number from when you was a kid. I still remember mine.
Facts,
So
bro.
just
nowadays dudes is disabled. But go ahead, bro.
Yeah, so that would be my advice for anybody trying to advance. So anybody wanting to join the order, because that's what the whole topic was about today anyway. Like, if you come in with a conspiracy, don't get me. I'll put it to you like this: at one point in time, I had a conspiracy theory about masonry, right? But I didn't know that this particular avenue of Blue Majestic existed, where we dealing with raw truth, or we're discovering truth, or we're finding truth, and we're finding the light. So, of course, my conspiracy theories would live on because we didn't know that this existed. So it's like, yeah, the Masons is trying to take over the world, and George Soros and all of these so-called dudes or whoever, they are part of that. They the Illuminati. But when you're ignorant and you don't know that these particular, or this is what Masonry is supposed to be, and it came from Egypt, and we're preserving and teaching the wisdom of the ancient mysteries. When you don't know that and you're ignorant to that fact, you're going to be in the darkness. So, of course, you're going to say, oh, yeah, they're trying to take over the world and they're trying to do negative stuff to people. So what I would say is be open-minded and change your perspective. Change your perception. So how you see things is how they reveal themselves to you. My mother always told me that. So how I look out at this world, like if I walk around like, yo, life is fucked up, that's exactly what life is going to show me. So I changed my perception. Yo, this life is beautiful and I'm grateful for living. You know what I'm saying? And I realized that things could be much worse, but they're not. So I'm grateful for that. I see beautiful things and life shows me the beauty in things. I find myself laughing at all because I'm like, universe is dope. So when you're trying to advance, be patient. Make sure you practice the curriculum that you're given. Take your time with it. It's exciting. Don't get me wrong. It makes you feel good because it's like, yo, I'm really learning something. I'm really learning the craft. And find ways to make it applicable to your life. That's the most important because you will be tried by humans. There was another brother who was basically explaining on a video how when we in the lodge, yeah, we do our work, but the true test of masonry is when you step outside that lodge. You really got to be standing on your square when you're dealing with the profane. And people try you all the time. So you got to put that work in and make sure that when you out in public or when you out amongst the profane, that you standing on your square. That's the best and true way to, for advancement.
And look at this. That's dope. You mentioned that. I remember when I first became a Mason, I'm saying as far as the organization, that esoterically we're born that,
right.
But that doesn't mean we good. You see how we do these different experiments in the lodge,
right?
And we show and prove like knowledge cannot be stolen. We show and prove it in the lodge because, like, yo, bro, if the knowledge was stolen, how come you don't know it? It not saying any individual particularly, but in general,
right?
You can't steal knowledge, bro. That's why the Bible tells you that bury your treasure in a place where thieves can't come in. Or they can't break in. That's in the New Testament, which is here in the mind. So we prove that, bro, in our curriculum. That's why I'll talk to certain cats and they're like, yo, the knowledge is stolen, man. The white man stole the knowledge. Well, what is the Pythagorean theorem, bro? Tell me how to construct the right angle. Oh, you can't tell me? So how did somebody steal the knowledge? You don't know it, so what you saying means nothing. It's useless. You can't demonstrate it. So don't tell me somebody stole the knowledge. That's baby psychology. That shit don't work in the real world. You got to know what you know. So with everything you were just saying there, I remember like when I first came into the organization of Freemasonry, I was 18. I tried to go into the mainstream first, but you had to be 21 to come into the mainstream. So they was like, yo, come back when you're 21. And then some Masons were like, nah, you could be 18. But that was under another jurisdiction. So prior to that, I remember the first book that I ever read dealing with Masonry was in my household, bro. It's called the New World Order by Ralph Epperson. With the pyramid on the front and the all-seeing eye, you know, the Great Seal of the United States. It's called the New World Order, and I read that when I was younger, bro. So from reading that book, my perspective was the same way as you said, like, oh shit, the Masons is doing all these conspiracies and they running shit, but I didn't have the discernment at that time to know, like, a Christian wrote this book. So the Christian is going to have his bias. He's Christian.
Right.
Nowadays, I'm wise enough to know that a Christian is not that intelligent. I don't care how many books a Christian reads. If you believe that a man was born of a virgin birth, you're not that intelligent if you take that literally. Because it's impossible in nature for a child to be born immaculately. That's impossible. I know science, bro. That's impossible. So now I could look at that book and see it from a different perspective. Like, nah, this is a person who just had blind faith, blind belief. Don't get me wrong. A lot of what's in the book is on point. So that was the first encounter I had as far as hearing about Masons, because the older Masons that I would come across, they didn't talk too much about Masonry. So, but you would know they were Masons. So a lot of that propaganda, I came to find out it was just that, especially when I joined. And when I joined, I'm like, ain't none of this shit satanic, bro. Like, what? That part surprised me. I'm like, nah, the letter G is venerated. God is venerated. You know what I'm saying? This is all spiritual. So that was a great lesson for me. Like, nah, man, don't believe. It's laziness. Like, you'll have people tell you, I know this about Masonry, I know that, but you've never been in lodge. You've never been a Mason. And that's this, in a general or vast way, that's what a lot of people do. They're very lazy. They take shit they see on the news or that they read in the news, off at face value, and they start running with it. And they don't know the harm that they cause. And they think they're so righteous. They think they're so righteous, bro. They think they're so right about everything. And they don't know the harm that they cause. The lies that they spew. Yeah. You feel me? But
definitely.
Yeah, it's never going to work out in their favor. You know what I'm saying? Taking that approach to things. So you're definitely right about that. Put your work in. So on and so forth. Even like with the book, with the free book giveaway, you'll look at a book like this, right? Like when I first bought this book, and it'll be a new copy. This is just my personal copy.
You got that off of Amazon?
Nah, this I got from a catalog, but we got boxes of them in the lodge. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So we just giving away a free copy or whatever. But like when I first saw this, you could read something like this. It tells you, right? Inspirational self-help, right? You know how a book is. You got to promote. It says, It Works presents a concise, definite plan to improve your life by explaining in very simple terms how to use the mighty power within that is anxious, willing, and ready to serve. Hundreds of books are boiled down to 10 minutes, from eliminating all of the scientific, psychological, and theological terms and explanations. The result is an easy-to-read book of interesting facts, along with a definite plan and 3 short rules of accomplishment. Don't let your worldly, objective mind keep you from achieving prosperity and happiness any longer. Test the power of this simple book that defies tradition and experience. Millions have already tried the plan and prospered. Now it's your turn to put it to the test and discover that it works, right? It sounds dope to promote, but the book is dope, bro. I'm going to keep it 100 with you. If you apply the book, it's fire. But the point is that the same thing with a book like this. You'll have individuals who will read it and they'll regurgitate it but not apply it. And to them, it's like, I know something that others don't know, and that's their ego. But in reality, you got to look at your life situation. And if your knowledge is not bettering you, it's not helping you to advance yourself, then you got a problem. You know what I'm saying? I used to be like that. I used to be like that when I was a kid, bro. When I was a young kid and I was getting money, but barely. And I used to be like, yeah, I got the advantage because I know something others don't know. And then I start seeing everybody advance beyond me. I start seeing Jay-Z advance beyond me. I start seeing individuals advancing in real time, you know? Just talking about the Dred Scott case.
Yeah. He said the black. I was referring to the Law Dictionary. I don't know if that case is in my Law Dictionary. I got the first edition of the Black Law Dictionary.
The Dred Scott case is mad popular. That shit is famous.
Yeah, I know about that case, but I don't think it's in my dictionary.
Yeah, but Deshaun is right about that in terms of it is a landmark case.
Right.
That's some shit we would have to do a whole episode on, where he's talking about where, you know, the Supreme Court, like,
they denied him his citizenship basically, and they basically said because he was 3/5 of a man basically, so he couldn't be a citizen or something. It was along those lines basically.
Yeah.
So they dubbed him.
Yeah, it's called coloring the law, bro. So that's why, and fuck, bro, we would have to do just different episodes.
That's exactly.
We would have to do different episodes on this law shit where, like, coloring the law, bro. I don't want to digress.
Or the other way to say it is coloring the law or color of law. Those are
color of law. I'm just speaking on some ghetto shit, but it is so true, bro, that like when you file an appeal or something, like let's say you get convicted and shit, you get railroaded in the courts. When you file an appeal and your appeal gets granted, because it won't always get granted, but let's just say it does get granted. Like in New York State, remember, like you said, brother, every state is a government unto itself. New York State, New Jersey State, Connecticut State, Pennsylvania State, California State, so on and so forth. But in New York State, bro, when your appeal is granted, you'll have 5 fucking judges, bro, that will decide whether they're gonna grant you a retrial. And guess what's the crazy part about it? The granting of your retrial is really based upon their interpretation of the law. It's based on their interpretation of the laws. You know, other cases, like for example, in that instance, the Dred Scott case or whatever it may be. So if 3 judges agree with your position, you good. But if 3 judges disagree with your position, bro, interpretation, you fucked. Your appeal is going to get shut down. So that goes to show you, bro, that interpretation, you would think it would be black and white is what I'm saying. Like your average citizen would think it's black and white. Like, oh yeah, the law is just clean cut and clear. Sometimes it is, but oftentimes there's not, bro. There's room for interpretation, and you will have fucking judges that, because of their own bias and whatnot, they would totally overlook what is rational. And if they overlook it, meaning the majority of judges ruling on your appeal, if they feel that your point, even if your point is solid, bro, if they agree upon their opinion that it's not, then it's not, bro. Your shit is going to get shut down and you're going to stay in jail. So when it comes to that law thing, that would have to be like different aspects of the law. That would have to be a whole other episode. And then we would have to put a disclaimer we would have, like, even though I work in the courts and shit, and you know law too, it would have to be a disclaimer, bro. Like, this is not legal advice. You understand?
Yeah, because
you would 100% have to do that, because
the
I'm
brothers
not a
on the channel
licensed.
said this.
We not. You can't just be a paralegal. You can't be none. You have to have passed the bar. So then they'll be like, shut this down, 100%. You dig?
Yeah.
And even if you did pass the bar, you would still have to make the disclaimer.
Yeah.
Like, we're not saying follow this. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, they shut your shit down. They'll shut your channel down, bro. Silence you and everything like that. And that's the rules with that.
All right. So we've been on for a minute. So I guess we could wrap it up. We
Yes,
answered the
sir.
questions for everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. That was a topic by one of the brothers in the lodge who wanted to throw that out there for everybody, and I thought it was dope. So we went ahead and we ran with that one. So if you have any more questions, let Brother Majesty know. He'll definitely get it across to me so we can politic on that, and we'll find some more interesting topics to discuss. But as always, like I say, keep your spirits high with the positive vibes, because you are royalty until the day that you die.
Yes, sir. So anyway, so with that, we're going to get out of here. Bless y'all. Hope y'all do good. Stay strong. Think. Try not to get caught up in a lot of the bullshit that's going on in the United States of America as a whole. Because if you're making the same mistakes that you made last year, where I'm pretty sure everybody saw all of the division that took place. Certain individuals will be friends, and then they're not friends because of political disagreements coming from the media. You know what I'm saying? That was terrible. So don't make the same mistakes this time around. If individuals disagree with you or your position, just be rational. You do your best to subdue your passions and discuss it, and still be brotherly, and so on and so forth. So with that, we're going to get out of here. On the next episode, we're going to hit you with something dope too. We already know what we're going to do, but just tune in or whatever. We'll let y'all know before we do come on. So again, with the book thing, if anybody wants that particular book for free, just hit the email up, majestymontanez@gmail.com, and just request the book. So whoever's the first person to do that, it'll get shipped to you with no problem. So with that, on the square, see y'all later. Love, light, peace. We out of here.